I want to give a huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Therapy isn't something to run away from, it's a vessel to run towards. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it's 100% online, so break out your comfies. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time. Anytime. And schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. No more fumbling to get a session on the calendar. You schedule based on when the time is right for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. Therapy changed my life for the better. Pun intended. And with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Rocky. That's betterhelp.com/Rocky. Donnell Rawlings. If you don't know who he is, I was gonna say something mean like, fucking learn who he is. What, have you been living under a rock? But that's not fair. That's not kind, and if there are two things I am, it's fair and it's kind. And kinda fair. Donnell Rawlings is one of the greatest living stand-ups there is right now. He's respected and looked up to by his peers. He's a genius. And the best thing that could have happened to the good people of the world is his Netflix special. It dropped this week. It's entitled A New Day. I haven't watched it yet on Netflix, but I can say I did watch it live in person and it had me in absolute tears. I was in pain from laughing so much. I watched the taping live on November 10th, 2023. And let me just tell you, it was one of the most unforgettable nights of my life. Absolutely wild, baby. It felt like a dream. The special was taped at the Hard Rock Hotel in Times Square. If you're looking for the fanciest bathrooms to freely take a Times Square pee in, boy, oh boy, is this the place for you. This is just a little sidebar and a hot tip. Granted, when I walked in, I was wearing a dress that hugged me tighter than a male back-of-house coworker. You know what I'm talking about. Just the right amount of tightness while simultaneously being a little too short. And I smelled like Chanel. My hair was slicked back like a Russian spy, and my eyes weren't glossy yet because I hadn't had a puff. For all that concierge knew, I was a guest in this gorgeous hotel, and he practically carried me to the loo. It's crazy the treatment you get when you present like wealth, I tell ya. Little did he know I just housed a slice of pizza without chewing in his lobby. And I was far from a guest. The special was being filmed at the venue next door, but I was sitting there like a lost lamb post-facilities because even as a New Yorker, I didn't know that the Hard Rock Hotel even had a venue. I was learning so much this night. When I finally met the crew to get my pass and go inside, I was, I'll be honest, real full of nerves and excitement, good nerves. I have a strong sixth sense for when a wild night is lurking its little head around the corner.
It's like I have ESPN or something.
I got inside, I got my credentials. Credentials, if you don't know what I'm referring to, that means basically just a lanyard that you wear to allow you to go into all access VIP areas. As I'm going up to said area where I'll be watching the taping, I'm walking up the stairs, and coming down the stairs on the other side was Dave Chappelle. My face stayed neutral. I expected to see huge stars here, and this special came right out of his camp, so I had a feeling he would be afoot. So I kept a cool face, 'cause I'm not a crazy lady, but I couldn't help letting out a little yelp, like And then I kept it moving. When I got up to the area where I was going to be watching the taping from, it was this big balcony bar that wrapped around the venue. And there was all this finger food and water bottles all over the bar. I mean, plenty. The cameras lined the entire railing, and god damn, it was freezing. Freezing. They gotta keep the cameras cool, of course, but like I said, god damn. Before the show started, I saw and spoke to comedian Mo Hill, who is a friend of the show and who's done the podcast. He and I had never met in person, so that was just such a cool moment for us. If you didn't listen to his episode, he told a super wild and crazy story from his college days, so make sure to go back and listen. Cypher, the plug for all the fun, was DJing, of course, and the crowd was loving it. So pumped. And when the show started, I oscillated from watching on the monitor, which was right in front of me, to peeking my head over and watching him with my own two eyes. The special was so personal, it was topical, it was quick, it was touching, he was flashy and sharp and a comedic monster, frankly. If it wasn't so cold in there, I would have had to pinch myself to know I wasn't dreaming. I was absolutely beaming with gratitude for being there. I was in that room, in the VIP section, watching this Netflix special being taped live. I still can't believe it happened. Afterwards, we were headed to the after party. What happens when you get into an after party like this? Well, I'll tell you. The champagne stays absolutely flowing on trays. Hors d'oeuvres are being passed everywhere you look. And do you think you could smoke weed in wherever this unnamed location was on a regular basis, or cigarettes? No, normally you can't. But for this after party, real life rules did not apply. We were blazing. People were on their feet dancing because the music was so good. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm not going to pretend like I've been partying with celebrities for years. You're the Party God Squad, and I'm going to keep it real deal, Holyfield, baby. It's recent for me, and I loved it. I look at partying with the celebrities like a full meal. Yum, yum, eat it up. Gobble, 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 gobble. Open bar, of course. And when the party was ending, I went up to the bartender. He thought I was trying to order another drink, but he was wrong. You see, he was wearing a pin, a white pin that said the initials DR with a microphone in the middle. And I said, no. I know you're closed, but, do you want your pin? What? Your pin. Can I have your pin? If you don't want it, can I have it? Then I batted my eyelashes because I'm a little baddie, and he practically threw it at me. But I didn't care because I got it. I got the pin. And when you watch his special, you'll see he's wearing the same pin that I have. What a special pin. Then I met him, and he was dapper, and he was cool as shit. Another thing I'm learning about celebrity parties is once the guest of honor leaves, that's it. Party's over. Ain't nobody paying for this open bar no more. Random thing that happened to me on the subway a few days later. I had my headphones in, but I wasn't listening to anything. Probably just thinking my thoughts, you know? I love to think my thoughts. And I overheard a man's cell phone conversation. The man was a bartender at the place where the after party was, and he was on the phone telling someone about the after party, how much money he made, how Dave Chappelle tipped him $100, how cool the party was. All I wanted to do was say, Sir, I too was at that party. I got a pin. I smoked weed inside your venue, and now nobody can tell me anything about anything. But I didn't say any of that stuff to him, and he got off, staying on the phone, continuing his story, and we never saw each other again. I would have said something if he was the pin bartender. I would have had to. Security said the guest of honor has left, so now it's time for everyone to leave. So we left. After we left, we had some laughs outside, and then it became a dream, like most memories do. So what I'm trying to say is watch the special. Maybe you'll hear me laughing, and you'll definitely see the pin. Oh, and one last thing. Like I said, the special is called A New Day. Long before this special came out, me and my people, we would play a game. The game is you have to make eye contact with someone in the room and sing the beginning of the Michael Bublé version of that song. but you can't laugh and you can't break eye contact. The lyrics are as follows. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. But you have to sing it, and you can't break eye contact. I promise you, you won't do it without laughing. Watch this special, you animals. You're gonna love it.
Time for
Duh.
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello. Did you have a good week? I sure hope so. A few things to cover. This past weekend, I got my own version of a Will Smith, Chris Rock moment at a comedy club. But before we get to that, I want to give you a lesson in stupidity. I've never claimed to be perfect. I am an ever-changing being who is on a constant journey for evolution to reach my highest potential, of course. Aren't we all? No. And because everyone is an ever-changing being who's on a constant journey for evolution to reach their highest potential, I try to have patience when I'm in the wild. On Friday night, I was out with some friends. We were having an amazing time. The music was perfect. The vibes were right. The company was hilarious, providing laughs on end. And there was a group in our vicinity playing Giant Jenga. And I'm not here to hate on Giant Jenga. I am a Giant Jenga player. I've played before, and guess what? I'll probably play again. But these Looney Tune goons ain't have no goddamn sense. You see, they played Giant Jenga and left all their drinks on the table. So when, inevitably, the giant blocks come crashing to the ground, so did their drinks. Stellar, right? Because my purse and jacket, which were 6 feet away on a stool, now have beer dripping on them like I'm back in a basement party in 2005 trying to clean Natty Light off a pleather skirt. I thought I left that life behind me. I didn't lose my cool. I'm a healed woman, and it's just material things. But a representative from their group didn't even have the decency to say I'm sorry. All she said was, "Oh my God, did that get on your jacket?" Then cleaned, which I say in air quotes, cleaned up the mess with what looked like every paper towel she could find. Left it in a pile on the table, and this napkin pile was so high it looked like an entire sorority just finished watching The Notebook for the first time. Then this Jenga playing group decided to play another round of Jenga. And here's where I realized they must be suffering from amnesia, because they all left their next round of drinks next to the giant Jenga again. I just moved my stuff, because unlike these barnyard dwellers, I learned my lesson. It was a full moon, so the nuts do be poking their heads out. And this past Sunday, there were nuts afoot too. I had the privilege of performing in Cypher Sound's Take It Personal hip-hop improv show at the DC Improv. It's always a hilarious show. It's too much fun for real. How the show works is usually there's a special guest who comes and tells a story from their life that's hip-hop related. The guest we had planned couldn't make it, and that's okay because the show is malleable. There was a huge crowd coming to see it, and it's a hip-hop based show, so someone in the crowd is bound to have a hip-hop related story. Right? Right? Because that's what we asked for, right? Anyone in the crowd who has a hip-hop related story that they want to share. The first woman who says she has a story, well, you guessed it, she doesn't. First, she asks the crowd if they know who Akon is, and then proceeds to sing an Akon song. The one that's like, "It don't matter, no, 'cause I got you." She sang that song with all her might. Gives us no hip-hop story. Material, yes. She gave us lots of material. Hip-hop story, no. Between her wackiness and a few other random gems from audience members, we were able to do a successful first half of the show. Her name was Rebecca, by the way. And during that successful first half of the show, Rebecca ran to multiple entrance spots on stage while we were doing improv. Honey, what? We all almost got Will Smithed. Luckily, we were able to block the stage to stop her. But what? And I say this sincerely, what the actual fuck? In a way, it's an amazing story that made for a core memory. And no one actually got hurt or touched, and she got the boot. If you or anyone you know wants to run on stage anywhere, don't do it. It will not end well for someone. Likely for you. We got lucky. But whatever your desired outcome of running on stage is, I bet it won't end well for someone. So just stay seated. After we survived the first half, Tony Woods was our storyteller for the second half. I talked about comedian Tony Woods a while ago on the podcast. I've talked about him because I was urging you to go find out about him. Watch him if you didn't know who he was. So to be on stage with him at the DC Improv, well, it was a dream come true for me. That brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1, if you do an accent or a quirky little voice, that's kind of like a Halloween costume for your mouth. Number 2, I know virtual reality takes you to places you've only dreamed about going to, but honestly, so do mushrooms. And honestly, have you ever been outside? Navigating the outside world is like a video game itself. How much more reality do we need? Number 3, rumor has it they're trying to do another moon landing. Could you maybe do something better with our money? And number 4, is it lazy to take the elevator at the gym? I have a couple things I want to ask of you, and I also have a couple things I want to tell you. First, whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, have you ever wanted to tell your wild night story? Well, now's your chance. I'm implementing a new layer to the show, and I want to hear your wild night story. The stories can be submitted anonymously, or you can leave your name. If you're interested in having your story told on the show, you can call and leave a message at 347-460-6878. That's 347-460-6878. Or you can email me at wildnightswithrocky@gmail.com. I know people listen and think, I have a wild story that just has to be told. Well, now's your chance. And before we wrap up the episode, I'd love to do some plugs. First is for Jeffrey, aka Jet Copeland, friend of the show and past member of the Party God Squad. Jet's show Blackout is making their international debut at the Toronto Comedy Festival. But before that, you can catch it in New York City at Caveat. It's New York's realest, rawest, all-POC sketch team. And they're coming back for a one-night-only sketch spectacular March 13th at 9:30 p.m., only at the Caveat Theater. If you're wondering what Blackout is where SNL meets In Living Color. It's a fast and fun sketch show chock full of traditional sketches, comedic ads, and political send-ups, all highlighting different slices of the culture, featuring an all-POC cast. Laugh until it hurts on Wednesday, March 13th, 9:30 p.m. before Blackout makes their international debut in the Toronto Comedy Festival. Live streaming and in-person tickets are available. I'll leave the link in the show notes, but you can get your tickets at caveat.nyc. Friend of the show and member of the Party God Squad, Camille Corbett, made a comedy horror film called The Island. And The Island is truly a mix of both comedy and horror. It's so entertaining. You can find it on YouTube, so give it a watch. Speaking of entertaining, my cousin Jamie wrote a comic book called Alexis Wild, set in a post-apocalyptic dystopia. If you like badass leading ladies in your comic book, then this is the book for you, and it's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart. I blew right through it, and you will too. And if you're in New York City this Friday night, March 2nd at 8 p.m., I have an improv show at the Tank Theater. That'll be on the 6th floor, and it'll be pay what you can with 3 other teams joining us. Come support live comedy, people. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. You can also subscribe to the show on YouTube. If you want to support the show with your wallets, you can join my Patreon for $2. Last week I said $3, but it's $2 or $5 a month. Coffee is more expensive than that, people. Get with the program. Support the show you listen to week after week. If joining the Patreon's not your vibe right now, be sure to write a review on Apple Podcasts, and a big thank you to everyone who's already written a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference. And until next time, stay wild.